So hi everybody, welcome to this month's Q&A interview with Reshell Smith, who is the owner of Ames Financial Solutions. Welcome Reshell, thank you so much for taking some time for us today to have a conversation.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure and I'm so excited to be here.
Wonderful. Yeah, so Reshell and I met back in 2018 at the Center for Financial Planning's Diversity Summit. So that was really fun. I knew I wanted to interview her. It only took 3 years to make it happen. So here we are, right on. Let's get started. So you have deemed yourself the transition money coach. Tell our readers and our listeners a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, so I deemed myself that from when I actually first started my company, because I guess there's no real name out there for someone who wanted to serve clients in the way that I did and I do. But it really came from the last company I worked for. Great company. I had a wonderful time there. And I was, doing financial planning for that company as well. But what I found is that I was speaking to and working with a lot of men, which was fine. Nothing against the guys. But I kept seeing the same problem over and over again. At some point, I would work with women, and it felt as if the women didn't know what was going on because they had lost their husbands. So, women who were divorced or women who were new widows who were going through this transition from being married to being single or divorced, or from being married to being a widow. And I kept thinking of the word transition, like how do women transition successfully from the workplace to being an entrepreneur? Like how do they make successful transitions to this new life when they really weren't participating in the financial planning process before? And so I think there's a certain way to handle women like that, and men. There's a certain way to handle it. It's not like, hey, someone passed away, you need to do this transaction, and move forward. There is a certain level of compassion you need to have. There's a certain level, there are certain conversations you need to have about outsiders. Um, Words that they may not, and thoughts that they may not have even had before, like women who were only paying the bills and they were not involved in the investing and the IRA and the 401k. Those are all new concepts to a lot of people who were not participating, who weren't at the table before. And so helping them transition successfully is what I do. And so again, I just, found that term fit the work that I want to do and that I do.
Excellent. So that's a great segue into asking, what are some of the unique challenges that clients in transition face that planners of all types should be aware of and prepared for?
So I guess the one is just being unprepared. If you again were someone, and kind of going back to the clients that I worked with at the firm, they had at least $1 million or more. And so if you were not participating in the investing, or understanding who your beneficiaries are, and how your trust is set up, because maybe you were there but you really didn't pay attention to everything. So being unprepared is actually one of the first challenges that planners are going to see with those types of clients, are just not prepared. And then the other thing that I don't want to leave out is that not working with professionals. So they may have not worked with professionals before, and they may have even tried to go through a transition alone. So not having those professional contacts to work with, it's like they're starting from point A. And so planners need to be prepared for that type of scenario.
Definitely. So on your LinkedIn profile, you talk a little bit about this 7-step transition program. Tell us a little bit about that and what that entails.
So it's similar to doing any financial plan where you are gathering data, you're defining the goals, and you're creating plans for your client. So going through those regular financial planning steps. However, it's how you go through them. So again, if we're talking about women or men who are in transition, again, you have to have a level of compassion there. You may have to educate them along the way because again, they may be introduced to new terms and new concepts and new things that they haven't been involved in before. So having that compassion and being able to educate through the normal financial planning process is why I say it's a step-in-step transition process, because it is the financial planning, but obviously you have to add in a little more to it because you're dealing with delicate situations.
Yes, excellent point. And then that brings up, Amy Florian, who does a lot of work on this type of grief and empathy and having this type of compassion. Do you recommend any sort of training for planners who might want to break into working with clients in transition?
Yes, I again did this on my own. So I kind of talked to planners about what I did. Yeah, I am someone who is spiritual. I consider myself to be a Christian. And so a lot of what I bring to the table is what I've learned just through my own personal experience and just bringing that compassion. If you're not a compassionate person, especially if you, in our industry, we have men and we have big, firm, strong men, and they're very straightforward. It's kind of hard to tone down and to be a little softer. So if you can't, send some flowers before you start the process to say, hey, I'm here. I know you're going through this and we're going to be working on this planning. Maybe normally you would work with someone to create a financial plan. Maybe you do it in 21 days, but because you have someone that's grieving and may have to take some extra steps, maybe you extend that time. So really having that compassion, even if you have to work with someone who works with voice inflection, and I know that that's not that may be an extra bill, but it teaches you how to tone it down and speak to people in a relatable way.
So that might be a little interesting segue into the future of financial planning and kind of skills necessary. But what do you think the future of the financial planning profession looks like?
Physically, I hope it looks more like me. Physically,
For sure.
I definitely hope that the industry is more diverse. We're always focused on moving women forward in finance, and I hope that that we're doing that, and that our career starts to look like a place where women and people of color can be successful. I really, physically want people to look more like us. But I also want us to make sure that we keep our standards high as far as the knowledge and the expertise that we provide. There's so many people out there that sometimes it feels like we're competing with money coaches or money gurus or people who do not have the degrees and designations and may not have done the book work that we've done, providing the best advice possible. And, I want us to be relatable. I think that is one of the biggest hurdles for us, just being relatable. That's one of the things that I actually like about myself, that when I am attracting new clients, that I can relate to a lot of their situations, whether they're married, divorced, or have worked with widows. I think being relatable and authentic really, really is going to help us be successful in our industry.
Speaking of education and degrees, so your resume is very impressive. You hold an MBA and several licenses, and you're also a CFP professional. How have these helped your career? And what would you say to young planners considering pursuing more education?
Be as smart as you can be. If there are courses out there that you can take that will increase your knowledge in the area that you are in. Great. Even in the areas that you don't think that you'll need. For example, I just talked about behavior and being relatable. There are courses out there that we can take that may not necessarily be in our industry, but it can sharpen our skills and how we interact with people. So I think just being as smart as you can possibly be. I do believe that every course that I've taken, every degree that I have has helped me in some way. Sometimes I'm like, did you have to take all of the algebra or all of those courses? How are you using it? And I can't say anything bad about it because I have a 15-year-old and he's like, why do I need this? Why do I need this? And I just think that there is a space and a place where maybe we don't use those formulas specifically, but I think it's the stability, the management, the focus, all of the things that you get from obtaining degrees and designations we're able to bring into our industry. And I believe it helps you be a better planner.
So what is your advice to the next generation of financial planners in general?
I would say what I said earlier, even to planners who've been in the industry for a while and are looking for ways to improve themselves, be authentic and be relatable. Authenticity, I don't think we've put enough emphasis on that. But really, I have found that there's less than 2% or so of African Americans, female, women of color in this industry, or who are even financial planners. And I think that I can't go out and be like my Caucasian male cohorts, right? I don't always like to get in a blue business suit, and speak in a way that maybe people don't understand. I actually feel good putting on a cute dress because the people that I attract like, maybe cute dresses. And I like to put a sense of humor in everything. A lot of the difficult concepts in our industry that are hard to understand, I like to break those down into terms that people can understand. So I think being myself and being authentic in that way helps me be more relatable for the types of people that I attract. And so I think for future planners, be authentic, be relatable, and it will attract the type of client that you want to have around you. There's a few planners that like run marathons and they do different things. They can be who they are and connect with new clients in those spaces. I like a good glass of wine. So a girls' night out or going to some sort of wine event is good for me because I'm comfortable. I can be myself, and that's attractive to many clients.
So how do you think that as planners, we could bring in more clients from underrepresented groups or from diverse backgrounds?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that you have to go where they are. I know different groups have things that they love to do. And I'll tell you, the African American culture, a lot of people that want to invest and work on their financial plans are in the church. So churches are packed. Maybe not now because of the time that we're in, but going there and participating in church events or doing workshops is great. Also, we love our HBCUs, our historically Black colleges and universities. So when they have events, if you can be a sponsor or a vendor, it's a great place. People, they love the music, they love the bands, they love the vibes. You have them in a cool, laid back atmosphere. So go where they are. It may not always be, the golf course that you normally go to. And it doesn't mean that they don't have money, because there are a lot of CEOs. And as we see, our first, Black female VP went to an HBCU. So there's great people out there that you can connect with by going to the places that they like, love, and that they mix and mingle at.
And one of the things I'd like to add to that is that, you know, the Hispanic serving institutions too, and the
Yes.
different, I mean, they're not as obviously not as prominent as HBCUs, and they're more very much serve a lot of populations, but that's also a good opportunity for folks to reach out, to go where they are. Like you say, I love that.
What we're basically saying is diversify. If you want to diversify your clients, you have to go to diverse places. So whether it be, you know, the African American community, the Asian community, the Latino community, wherever, just go to the places that they are. Otherwise, you're not going to meet them unless they, you know, come to you.
Well, thank you so much, Reshell. That was wonderful insight. I'm so excited that we made some time to hang out together today. And
Only took us 3 years, like you
yeah,
said.